am normally a very well-adjusted person and a skeptical person. But you know what? I have been subjected to some spooky things in my lifetime. Like I have had some scary, scary stuff happen. And I figured tonight, in the spirit of Halloween, I could tell you about all of them. And I don't want to spoil my scary stories on the first 10 seconds of the video, but I do want you to know what is in store. So let me go over them quickly like it was headlines. First, there was the time I saw a ghost in front of me. Very scary stuff. Can't explain it to this day. The time I played the Ouija board, and it was the worst decision of my life. There was the time I thought I had a poltergeist haunting my house. And let's not forget how, trying to master the art of lucid dreaming, I ended up getting caught in a world within my dreams that I couldn't get out of no matter what I did. I was trapped in there for months. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover tonight, and I think we should just jump right into it. Okay, so let me preface this by saying that I used to be a very skeptical person. I used to be the kind of person that would say, love is just some chemicals in your brain. For a long time, when I was skeptical, I had this memory repressed. And it was the first spooky thing that happened to me. I was 6 years old. And this happened on a weekend. And I was playing in my room. It was early morning. I had all my toys on the floor. And my sister was sleeping in the crib. She was 2. And all of a sudden, I had this feeling, completely overwhelming feeling taking over me. And even some visual images too. And I knew that my great-grandfather had died. I just knew it. I knew he had passed away. And so I got up from the floor and I went looking for my mom. And my mom was in the kitchen, like nothing was happening. And so I figured, weird. And I went back to playing with my toys. But 15 minutes later, the phone rang in my house. And it was my grandma. And my grandma told my mother that my great-grandfather had passed away that morning. I knew it before the phone rang. Okay, so nothing strange happened after that incident for many, many years until I was a teenager. And I got myself a boyfriend, and my boyfriend had a car and he took me to the movies. We went to a very late showing. So I think we left the theater. It must have been like 1 a.m., very late. And he was going to drive me home. Now, my home was on a hill, and the sides of the hill were covered in sprayed concrete retaining walls. Basically, it's very smooth concrete surface that wraps around the hill so nothing falls from the hill down to the street. And it makes it so that there's no indentation, there's nowhere you can hide or come out of. So he was driving, and all of a sudden, there's the atmosphere changes. It feels like it's colder, and my hair gets I get goosebumps. And we see a man walking alongside the retaining wall. And he was very slender, very tall, very white. Everything he was wearing was white. His skin was white, his hair was white, his shoes were white, pants, shirt, hat, everything. And it's pretty spooky already, right? Not just the man, but the atmosphere. And so we both noticed the man. And so my boyfriend passed him, the man was walking here, and we passed him with a car. And so because it was so odd, we both turned around to look at the man. But when we turned around, the man was gone. Vanished. He had never even been there. And there was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere to go. There was no alleyways. There was no houses or cars or anything that you could hide behind or under. And we looked at one another did you see that? And we both saw the man, and we both saw him vanish. And we were both scared out of our wits. So he got me home and he came upstairs and, he calmed down and we talked about it. And we both got to the conclusion that it was probably a ghost. It's like the only logical explanation. Like the man was there, then he wasn't, that there was nowhere he could have gone. And we saw the guy and then we did like this and he was gone. Crazy, insane. But you know what? That's not the craziest thing that's happened to me, because a couple of years later, things were going to get much darker. See, I was in college and I had a study group. It was 3 girls and me. And we would study together for almost every test. We would meet at Daniela's apartment. And one night we were studying for a history exam when one of the girls started telling us the stories of how she played the Ouija board and it worked. And I started laughing, like a belly laugh, like, yeah, right. Do you think it worked? Do you think it moved? Somebody duped you, girl. That's impossible. You must have been drunk, drugged, or out of your mind if you think this is, you're so gullible, you're so naive. And so the girl started to convince me that I should then, play. If I was so sure that it was not going to work, I should play with them. And I was so convinced there was nothing in this world that could make that thing move in a million years that I said, sure, why not? Sign me up. Let's do this. I'm going to see you face plant on the floor with this. But we didn't have a board. But I don't take dares lightly. If I said I was going to do it, I was going to do it. So I got a picture from the internet of what the board looked like, and I replicated it on a piece of paper with markers. And because we didn't have anything to attach this to the floor with, we used Play-Doh because her sister was studying, I think it was education. So she had Play-Doh in her room. So we used little tiny balls of Play-Doh to attach this makeshift board to the floor of the terrace. And then, in order to point, because we didn't have a pointer, we took a whiskey glass, the ones with the really thick bottom, and we stuck a cigarette to the bottom of it with the Play-Doh too, so that it pointed to somewhere, no? And we got together and I decided that I was going to go along with whatever they said. I wanted this to work. I wanted this to work in my favor, like by not moving, right? And I let them chant and do a circle of salt and take our hands one with the other and think about positive things. I did everything. I was completely convinced nothing was going to happen. And I was dead wrong. Because as soon as we put our fingers, and believe me, this whiskey glass was so heavy that if any one of us would push it, there was a lot of friction with a piece of paper. And if any one of us tried to push this glass, the glass would topple over. It was not going to just move. But the glass started to move. And it started to move so quickly over the piece of paper that it was impossible for any single person to be moving that on their own. And at first, the glass was going crazy, it was going yes, no, yes, no, yes, no in circles. And then all of a sudden, it just went to yes and stay there. And this chick started to ask the glass questions. And it would go straight to the letters, like shoo, 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 shoo. So scary. I get scared just telling you this. And so she started calling for things and messages started to spell on this board. And then all of a sudden, so the glass would move and then it would say goodbye and exit the board. And then she would call again and another entity, I guess, would go in the glass. And you knew it was different people because the glass had different personalities. Like sometimes it would just be straight to each letter very quickly. Sometimes it was doubtful and moved slower. Sometimes it did curvy movements and sometimes it was just sharp. It was so odd. It was so weird. And so at one point, the glass started, she asked if he wanted to talk to someone. And the glass went like, yes. And she asked who. And it spelled my name. It said Yael. And she asked what he wanted to tell me. And he spelled, and I'm not kidding, my mother killed me. That put like a lot of fear inside of me. Like I had no clue what this was about. Like I didn't know anybody who had died, like any children who had died or older people who had died at this point in my life. So I didn't know like what this was referring to. I thought an abortion maybe, like that's the only thing that I can think of, but I don't know anybody who at least admitted to my face to having such a procedure. And so this weird message exited the board. But here's the point when we all collectively shut our pants. All of a sudden, the glass went straight to yes. And nobody had to ask the glass anything. It just went to yes on its own. And so my friend asked him who he wanted to talk to. And the glass spelled Daniela, my eldest daughter, 1985, I love you, and I'm gone. And the glass left the board. Oh my God, I get like goosebumps just telling you the story. My friend Daniela started crying, like bawling her eyes out, and we didn't understand what was happening, but she told us. Turns out, and we didn't know this, her father had died when she was a child. Her actual real father. Then her mother remarried. And she was the eldest daughter, and she was born in 1985. So the glass said, Daniela, my eldest daughter, 1985, I'm gone. And so she was completely convinced that it was her father in the glass at that moment. And she just couldn't stop crying. And so we picked everything up and we never again played the Ouija board. But that night was very difficult for me because, I tried to make my friend feel better and everything. But once she went to bed and I went to my bed, I couldn't sleep at all. Because for the first time in my life, I had experienced the reality that there was something else out there that we couldn't see and that we couldn't measure. And it was a terrifying thing for me to think about. Like all of a sudden, I didn't know where I was standing because in my mind, I didn't know what it was that was animating the glass. In my mind, there was no reason why the people in the glass were who they said they were. But there was something moving the glass, see? It doesn't matter who it was. The fact is the glass was moved on its own, spelled so many things on the board, and it was obviously something that we couldn't see. So I was laying in my bed and all I could feel was like there was a bunch of stuff floating around me that I couldn't see, in the air around me because they could move the glass right there. And this completely changed my perspective on the world forever. Like there was no going back after that. But the worst part is, after this happened, other very disturbing things started to happen to me. And I never knew whether this was the result of playing the Ouija board and I had some sort of entity doing these things, or if by playing, somehow my perception had opened to realities that I had been closed off until then. So let me tell you what happened in the aftermath of the Ouija board. You know what my brain was turned into after the Ouija incident? It was turned into slushy. I had slushy for brains. I was very afraid of the flying secret entities that could move things. But also, a part of me was excited because it opened up the possibility of magical thinking in so many areas of my life. And that is when I started noticing all of the weird synchronicities happening around me. And just to give you an example of how wild they were, I was once stranded at a McDonald's with a friend, and we had to turn in a project for school the next day. And we needed a rose for this project, but we didn't have a car, and there were no flower shops around. So we figured that we were screwed. But what are the odds that a guy sat down on a table across from ours, and he happened to be a master origami folder? And he liked my friend, apparently, because he folded a rose right then and there and gave it to my friend, unprompted. Okay? It was the International Women's Day, so he gave her the rose, and he was like, I think you're very beautiful. Happy International Women's Day. And my friend was like, whoa, what is this? So we could turn in our project with the origami flower, like, of all things, insane, crazy. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that started to happen all around me. But you know what the bad part was? I was convinced that I had a poltergeist stuck to me since I did the Ouija board thing because of the insane things that happened to me. So I started to meditate, and I was meditating before bed. And my bed had a floating shelf over it that was attached to the wall, and I had all my books in there. I had that shelf for years, since I was like 9, and nothing ever happened. But that night, I went to bed, I was meditating, and when you start meditating, sometimes you start feeling like this vibrational thing. Just as everything started to vibrate, a pile of books fell off the shelf on my lap. A pile of books just fell randomly off the shelf into my lap, and I was meditating, all right? So all I felt was like a thud, and I didn't understand what was happening. So I looked down, and I see this pile of books. They had fallen from the shelf. And I thought that was spooky, but I thought, you know what? Maybe they weren't organized well. So I stood up, I put all the books in their proper places. But 2 days later, I was sitting at the computer. Now, the computer was on my desk on the opposite wall to my bed. And it was like the desk, the computer, and then there was a mirror on the wall. And I could see through the mirror at my bed and the bookshelf. I was in my computer, and all of a sudden, I see 2 books literally flying off the shelf, like whoosh, whoosh. I saw this with my own eyes. Like, if somebody else had told me the story, I would have laughed. I would have said, come on, get real. But I saw it with my own eyes. There was like no windows open, no drafts that could do this. This has never happened to me before or since, okay? But literally, 2 books went flying off the shelf. They landed on the floor with a thud. I got so scared. I told my mother I didn't want to set a foot in my bedroom anymore. My sister was living abroad, so I moved into my sister's bedroom and I locked the door to my room, and I didn't want to go in there. I was convinced there was a poltergeist. And then I was living in my sister's bedroom, and I was feeling pretty good. I thought the poltergeist was locked in my room. And one night I'm reading, and I hear what seems to sound, something that sounds like a swoosh, like whoosh. And it sounded like it came from the window. The window was open. So I looked, but I couldn't see anything. I figured it was in my mind or something. And I went back to reading. And then I start seeing like a shadow, something like over my head, like a shadow. And I look up and I see a gray thing with wings. it looked like a butterfly. It flied like a butterfly, like this. But it wasn't a butterfly. It was a bat. A bat. A bat, like Dracula, okay? Like a stupid fucking horror movie. A whole ass bat came flying through the window of my room and started flying in circles over my head. Like I thought I was possessed. I thought there was something utterly wrong with me, like this poltergeist. Maybe it's not a poltergeist, maybe I'm possessed. So I went out flying, like I went running to the bathroom because for some reason, like the first thing that popped into my head was like, this bat's gonna get caught in my hair and then I'm gonna have to get a buzz cut. So I went to the bathroom and put my hair up in a shower cap. I had like a shower cap and I went like this and I was like, Dad. My dad came to fight the bat with a bat, like with a baseball bat. It was the bat against the bat. My dad chasing the bat around the house, me trying to hide underneath the table. The bat, finally, my dad managed to get the bat out of the house. But I couldn't shake the feeling, like for years, that I had something stuck to me, like some sort of entity that had come through the Ouija board and stayed with me, like a pet or something. Oh. Luckily for me, I didn't have any more incidents for a while, especially because I moved out and like I moved abroad and I left to the country. But that was dark. That was very dark. And everything would be fine for years until I came up with the stupidest idea ever to try and master lucid dreaming. So apparently the poltergeist was geographically bound and didn't fly united because it didn't follow me abroad. The minute I moved out, all of the spooky things stopped and my life was calm once more. And I had no spooky events in years, in decades really. But you know what never recovered? My brain. My brain was still slushy. So ghosts, check. Poltergeist, check. Ouija board, check. Meditation, check. Strange ideas about tarot and astrology, check. So my brain was crazy. And a couple of years ago, I got it in my head that I needed to learn how to lucid dream. It was a matter of life or death for me. And oh boy, if only I had known how bad this would get, I would have saved me a lot of trouble, but I didn't. And I had a very good reason to learn how to lucid dream. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I'm going to link you here to a video I made about this if you're interested. The fact is, just know that I needed to learn how to lucid dream. It was important to me. And so I got it in my head, and I'm very obsessive. When I want something, I get it. And I started to practice lucid dreaming every single night. I would go to bed, close my eyes, practice. And I wasn't getting anywhere for months. But then, after I had been doing this for 6 months, one night, I got it. And I managed to lucid dream. And it was like something got unlocked, because from that moment on, I could do it at will. At first, it was such a thrill. Like I was walking through the world of my dreams, and I could make choices about the thing. I could see clearly. I could think clearly. I could choose to do things one way or another. And it was incredible to me. Like I noticed so many things. So I was tripping with this thing. The only problem was I started to realize that I was losing control. I no longer could choose whether I wanted to sleep normally or lucid dream. And here's the problem with that is when you're lucid, when you're sleeping, you're not really sleeping. Like you wake up and you're just as tired as you were before you go into bed. Because instead of resting the side of your brain that thinks, you're engaging it even more. So if you can't sleep for real, you start getting extremely tired and you start to lose the grip on reality. Like reality and the dream world start to like merge weirdly. And I got trapped in that. Like every time I went to bed, whether or not I wanted to, I would lucid dream. Sometimes I would fall asleep and start dreaming normally and then become lucid in the middle of the dream. It was the most awful thing, the most awful sensation of being trapped in this cycle and not being able to get out of it. And I kept thinking, I hacked my own brain. Like, I hacked my own brain. How do I get rid of this? And it was very difficult to stop because this is like a skill. It's like learning how to ride a bike. How do you unlearn how to ride a bike once you're already riding bike? Nearly impossible, right? So for months, I couldn't sleep normally. Eventually, I don't know how, by stopping these exercises, the capacity of lucid dreaming went away. And I have never tried again to see if I can still do it. I don't recommend you try. So these are some of my spooky stories. I have a few more that I didn't want to include in here, but if you guys like these stories, I can make a part 2 with all the things I didn't tell you. Now, I don't know if you have some spooky stories of your own. I bet you do. Everybody has had a spooky thing or two happen. Just leave them in the comments if you do. I love to read them, especially if they happen to you, not something that you heard somebody else go through. And if you like my stories, do subscribe to my channel. I love seeing the number grow. It encourages me to go on when I see that you guys subscribe to my channel. And if you want me to tell you every time I upload something worthwhile, there's also the option of signing up for my emails by going here. You can go in there, there's a form, and you can enter your email, and I will add it to my emails list, and then I'll let you know when I upload new content, in case YouTube doesn't show you my videos. But I also love you. I also love it when you subscribe and I see the number go up. Yeah, I wish that I had like a big closing statement, something heartwarming and like, I don't know, something that closes this whole thing neatly, but I don't have the answers. I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't have the answers. I don't know. These things happen to me. What is going on? Who the fuck knows? Anyway, see you soon.